Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Balconia Garden Podcast. This is where we talk about all things container gardening, both indoor and out. You can find tips and tricks on how to create a flourishing container garden, regardless of the size, shape, or space that you have. You can find video tutorials on my YouTube channel. The channel is called Balconia Garden, and you can listen to this podcast on the YouTube channel and on Spotify. The account is called Balconia Garden Podcast. Welcome to episode 9. Today we are looking at what a seed needs to germinate successfully. So this is just a short guide on what your seeds will really need to get this germination process going so that they can then grow into healthy, strong seedlings. If you're looking for a how-to tutorial on how to sow seeds, I did a video on that a few years ago. I will link it down below, and I will link any sort of seed-related video or podcast also down below. You can check that out if you're interested. Let's get started. So let's start with what germination actually is. It's the process of a seed waking up from its dormant state, and it's where the embryonic plant, which is within the seed coat, it's when it starts to grow, and this embryonic plant will start to consume something called the endosperm, which is a sort of starchy food supply that also comes in a part of this little seed coat packet, and they're present in almost every seed. An embryonic plant, it's so interesting. I read once where the embryonic plant was described as a starter kit for a plant's new life. So this embryonic plant within the seed coat, it's the earliest form of the plant itself. So it already has roots, or very basic roots, but it has the structures of roots. It has a stem, and it also has leaves. They're called seed leaves or cotyledons. They're not actually true leaves. And often the adult plant will look very different from these seed leaves, the leaves that the adult plant produces. But it's already, a mini plant, basically. And this embryonic plant is able to detect the environment around it, and also whether the conditions are suitable for germination and then for growth, which is just so fascinating. And so this embryonic plant is searching, scanning, sensing the environment around it, and it's looking for 4 conditions that have to be met before it will start to properly germinate. And these conditions that have to be correct for the seed are light, water or moisture, temperature, and air. So let's get into that. As ever though, every seed will be different, so make sure you read the back of the seed packet. It's going to give you the correct information for what that specific seed needs in order to germinate successfully. So let's start with light. Most seeds require around 12 to 16 hours of light to germinate successfully. You can achieve this by popping them on a sunny windowsill in your home, or if you have a kind of outdoor structure, maybe you have an outdoor mini greenhouse or a DIY greenhouse, you can also pop them in there. That's perfect too. Anywhere where they're going to be receiving lots of bright light throughout the day. There is also always the option of using grow lights for your seedlings to make sure they get this optimum amount of light a day. And of course, because seedlings always grow towards the light source, if you have overhead grow lights, then the seedlings are going to grow upwards towards this light. That's then going to help the stems stay a little bit shorter. They're going to be more compact and consequently more stable. There won't be any stretching towards their light. There won't be any etiolation. Grow lights aren't necessary though. I've actually never used them. Just make sure that when the seedlings start to emerge that you turn your pots or your trays regularly so they don't start leaning to one side and they're getting light from kind of every angle. Some seeds, many larger seeds actually, they actually need light to germinate. So what we normally do with a seed, we'll plant it into the soil and then cover it over so it's kind of in darkness. But many larger seeds actually need to experience direct light to germinate. And they're normally sown on the top of the compost, pressed slightly down into the soil, or you can cover them with a thin layer of vermiculite. This holds them in place. It also holds the moisture in place around them. But again, check the seed packets. It will tell you everything you need to do. The next requirement for a germinating seed is water or moisture. Water is actually what kicks off the whole germination process. When a seed is surrounded by water, the seed coat becomes softer, and this will then allow water to enter into the seed. All the contents of the seed coat will then start to swell. This is called the imbibing process. And this water initiates metabolic activities. It also wakes up the embryonic plant, and it triggers this plant into putting down roots and unfurling its seed leaves or the cotyledons. So when it comes to your seedlings, always aim to have your growing medium moist but never saturated. Make sure that the containers you're growing in, that they have drainage holes. And if you're using lids to keep the humidity up, take the lid off every few days. This is going to stop mold happening, or take it out of any kind of plastic bag that it's in. Allow the soil to sort of aerate a bit. The next condition that needs to be right for our seeds to germinate is temperatures. This is also an interesting one. So generally speaking, most seeds will germinate between a temperature of 15 and 21 degrees Celsius. There are some seeds that require pre-chilling for a period of time. This period of time is normally between 8 to 16 weeks. And this process is called stratification, and it mimics the natural processes of many perennial plants or trees or bushes, which produce seeds in late summer. The seeds then fall to the floor. They then experience winter conditions in the soil, and then in spring they begin to germinate. Many of these seeds that require pre-chilling are flowers, so very popular flowers, so things like delphiniums, echinacea, lavender, daisies, comfrey. So if you're growing a lot of flowers in your container garden, make sure you pre-chill the seeds and you should get the best results. And the last condition for our germinating seeds is air. So like us, seeds and seedlings need air to germinate and survive. So when you are filling your pots or trays with soil, don't push down too firmly. There should be enough air pockets in the growing medium for the seed and the seedlings to breathe and put down roots, so they have enough space to put down their very delicate roots. And these air pockets will also allow for exchange of gases, which is very important too. So that was it. That was just a short guide on what a seed needs to germinate. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you would like to support the channel, subscribe. I hope all your seeds and seedlings are doing well. I send you all my good wishes, and I will see you in the next podcast. Goodbye.